Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. It's a work video today. The work's down here. But before we start, it's opening. And it's already done a lot better than the previous one did, because the previous one didn't get anywhere near that far and died. So this one's doing better. The one that I trimmed the bloom off because it died, the leaf is pushing on at a fair old rate. We do have a problem with these little pots because from memory some of the peony leaves last year were over a foot long, and if you can imagine, there's quite a few shoots in here. They're all going to have a leaf, and if those leaves are this long, that's a hell of a pot full, isn't it? Anyway, you can see the colour in the lip, very attractive. So that's not fully open, it should open more than that, but it's, as I say, it's done a lot better than the last one did. Whoopee! Now let's get some more going. Right, work's down here, so we'll swing the camera around and down. Now, this is quite a biggie. This is the only Coelogyne that needs repotting this year, unless I get some new ones, of course. All the others have been done and have a date on them that doesn't warrant a repot, and they're all in my bark. So I know what they're in, I know what they're like, they don't need touching. This is the only exception, and this is the one I got from Arthur. Now the chances are this doesn't need repotting, but I don't know that. And as it's in quite a large pot, I prefer it to be in a bit smaller pot. These are the two new growths, yeah? So those are going to mature, they've already flowered, and then after they've matured we should get two new growths which will flower, hopefully, and then they will push on to like this. So it's got a good year, maybe 2 years, before it's going to need a bigger pot. Now it could stay in this pot, I could get away with it, but I don't like not knowing. And we will get it out of the pot. If Arthur potted this up at Burnham's, I suspect it's got the white stuff in the bottom. Are you going to come out? At the moment it's saying no. I'm not coming out. Hang on. Oh, it's not held in at the bottom, so sometimes you get roots go through the bottom. There we go, it's on the move. There we go, we've got some nice roots. Some have been left behind in the pot, stuck to the pot. Now that's interesting to see. That's not in the biggest bark, which is what I normally use for Coelogynes. But it does smell a little bit fausty, but I don't think this has been in the pot a huge amount of time. And as I say, we've got some nice roots here, so I'm going to do my best to get the worst of the old media out, because I don't know how old it is, but I'm not going to tear it off of existing roots. I'd rather leave it and, you know, it'll just become part of what's in the pot. Yeah, see the two new growths around the front here. Look at the root activity that's come out of those. So you can see how Coelogynes tend to progress, but they do vary. When the new roots grow is quite variable. It's not always at the start of the new growths. Sometimes it's after the growths have matured. So they're like working backwards. You know, the rhizome extends, although there's virtually no rhizome on this plant, which is good. It means it'll stay in the pot and not climb out. That's quite a few Coelogynes are runners or climbers, sometimes both. Runners are what I call one that has extended rhizomes. So the distance between the pseudobulbs you know, can be 2 or 3 centimetres. So it's forever trying to escape the pot. And then you get others that are climbers that are the same as runners, except that they leave the media and head off towards the sky. They are a nuisance. They are a real nuisance. Now the older roots on here are not old dead roots. They are just the previous set. So I'm not going to take them off. I'm just going to keep fiddling till I've got as much of this old media off as I can, as I said, without tearing at the roots. These roots have really grabbed hold of the media. You can see this is firmly attached. If I try and take this off, I will tear at the roots, and then you've damaged the velamen, you know, which might take the root down. Better not to bother. And just keep touching, keep fiddling gently, and see what comes off. And what stays, in my case, gets to stay. I think that's about it. So that's a nice easy repot. Now all we've got to do is find a suitable pot that will accommodate those roots. And the old pseudobulbs, you've got one old pseudobulb with no leaves on. If I leave that on the plant, I will have to have a bigger pot. Yeah? So if I take this one off, then these 2 bulbs can go against the side of the pot, leaving plenty of room towards the other side of the pot where the new growths are. So I am going to take that one off. It will take some of the roots, I'm sure. No, just come off clean, that's good. So that will now, I'm just going to, I don't know whether my scissors will, I just want to take that bit of rhizome off as well, because that will also stop it. There we go. That will also stop it going up against the edge of the pot. Yes, there's a few old tired roots came off with that piece of rhizome. So there we go. Another piece of news. Our programme secretary for the Orchid Society has been busy trying to book up for 2027. I know that sounds a long way off, but that's how far ahead you have to work to actually book the speakers in, to get the dates in their diaries. Otherwise they use up all the dates and they're not spare, you know, they're not free. And as part of the chat with Mathers, with Jill, about booking in another Zoom talk for 2027, there was a little invite in there that said, oh, and by the way, if Wessex want to book up, get in touch, because the dates will go quickly and we're starting to take the bookings now. See, now we didn't get a group visit this year. I didn't see an invite, quite honestly. I don't know whether they decided not to do them. I don't know why, but at the end of the day we didn't have a group visit this year. I will be going in April as a separate thing. Me and Hannah will do a day out at Mathers, but not a society visit. So I've got in touch with the powers that be and suggested that if we want to do a group visit, we need to get in touch now. Not leave it till the weekend, not leave it till after I've been and done this, that and the other. It needs doing now or we won't get the chance. So, and that's not my job, so I'm not doing it. That's not my bit. But yes, it would be nice to have another group visit, having missed a year. Those that went before last year, by then will probably enjoy going again. There's some people, if you start offering the same thing year on year, they'll miss out. So we won't do that. Right, so that's ready to go. Yeah, there's some nice green root tips there, active roots. We've got 2 nice strong new growths with nice leaves, and a pot full of waste. Sorry, a bin full of waste. Look at that giant piece. I wonder where he got that. But compared with my big stuff, look, it's not firm, it just falls apart. Whereas my giant stuff that I've got that I use for crocking, you can't break it, it's so hard. Whereas this, if you look at these pieces, they just fall apart. So I don't think this bark's as new as perhaps I thought. It's quite crumbly, or a lot of it is. Anyway, as usual, I shall have a clear up, sort out a pot, and I'll be back. Okay, I'm going to use one of these wide, flatter pots that cannot be got again for two reasons. They're very stable because they've got a very wide bottom compared with the height of the pot. Yeah, so they're not far off a pan shape. They're sort of in between normal flower pot shape and a pan. And the second reason is that's a new pot and I haven't got to wash one up. There you go. Right, now I'm not going to effectively crop this, but what I am going to do is just pick out some. This is one of those where the grade of the bark has not been sorted that well. There are some big bits and some small bits, it's quite a mix, but I'll just grab some of the bigger bits. The trouble is, if you put small bits over, the drainage holes in this pot are quite large. So some of that bark's gone straight through and out of the holes, but nonetheless, if I give it a shake, the smaller bits will come out, leaving the bigger bits. And they'll all get bound up together anyway eventually. So right, so that's that. Now we've got quite a large root system that hopefully will go in here okay, gently. They seem quite flexible, Coelogyne roots, but they move a little bit and then they snap. And they don't tend to recover very well once they do that. So I'm getting the plant right over there, but as always that's where I want it to go, but it's not where I want it now, because we need to get some bark down the back, because this is a large root system, and although I always say there's not a lot of point in having media at the back of the plant because there aren't any roots, in this case there are, because the plants had encircled the pot, the old pot. So there's roots all round the plant. They don't emanate from the back of the plant, but that's where they are. So we do need media there this time round. And then I want to get that positioned so that those new growths are, they've got plenty of room. And this is a very good example of why I use dry media to pot. The centre of this plant, right under the base of the plant, is hollow. There's no roots there. Well, that if I was using wet media, I'd have a hell of a job to get any media into that area, because it would just stick to everything, which is why I use dry media, because using this method of tapping, it just falls into all the spaces. See, that hole underneath is half full now, and it's filling up quite quickly. And it's almost full now. So I know that I haven't got a big air gap underneath the base of the plant. So we're okay. I just need to get enough media in here to cover up these nice new roots here. I doubt if I'll be able to cover all of them, quite honestly, because there's some here that are flicked up in the air. They will be difficult. They will probably end up being sacrificed. Quick shuffle. Quick look. Yep, hole's all nicely covered. I'm not sure this is going to be stable enough. Now, because this is quite chunky bark, I'm not worried about coming up to the base of the plant and leaving the plant sitting on it. I'm okay with the growths slightly buried, simply because this bark, when it's watered, the top layer, the top centimetre or so will be dry by the next day. They'll dry from the top and the bottom at the same pace. I think that will probably do. How stable is it? Very jolly good. Yep, that'll do. Now you can see that the pseudo bulbs are not sitting on the media, they're slightly buried. But don't forget, these are going to swell up like that. And by the time they get to that size, the majority of the bulb will be sat on the top. And any bark that's around the base will just get pushed out of the way. You can see the size that the bulb hopefully is going to get to, yeah? And when these two are up to that size, they will use up a fair bit of the front of this pot. But there'll be room for another two in front of that. And that will take it to the edge of the pot. And it's at that point we might think about doing something about it. But anyway, that's that one done. And with any luck, yep, that can be my black pot. But there is a problem that we have to deal with. If I put that flat pot in that black pot, it will sink down so far that I won't be able to pull it out again, apart from lifting it out with the plant. And with a newly planted plant, the plant will just pull out. Yeah. So what we do is we put some of these that I don't use in there, and then that will sit on the top. One too many. Yeah, that's about right. That's sat about nice. And then what I do is to stabilise the plant and stop it wobbling, tuck one down the side, just till it settles down. Now everything's nice and stable. The pot's stable in its black pot, and the plant's stable in the pot. So that's good. I've got a few little bits of bark left over here that I will just tuck on. So there we go, that's that one done. I will keep Arthur's label, because there's nothing wrong with it and it's clear and precise. I must try and remember to ask Arthur what pen he uses, because my label printer is all very well and good, but the labels fade. The black on the colour, which is nice when it's nice and new, but they don't last too long. And the nearer the light they are, the quicker they fade. So I wouldn't mind having a chat with Arthur to see what pen he uses, because it don't rub off, and ask him if it fades. You know, how long is that going to stay black on white? Because getting white tags is the cheapest and easiest way to get sizes and shapes that you want. Trying to get black ones is not very easy at all. The sizes and shapes are not there without a lot of looking. It took me a long time to find the larger ones that I use now. Anyway, we'll give that a good soak, rinse all the dust off, and get that back up on where it goes. And as I say, we've had the flowers. It's like the old flower spike just lifted out. That's good. So we're maturing our leaves. They're not quite up to full size yet, but they're not far off. And then they will darken as they age. And as you can see, the leaves on this plant are pretty big. I suppose that is, well, it's got to be 18 inches at least. It's funny, I'm all right in centimetres up to about that much, and then after that I switch back to inches. But they're good sized leaves, they're nice strong growths, they've got a good root system. There's no reason why that plant shouldn't establish well in that pot. And then hopefully these will flourish and become nice big bulbs. The old bulbs won't shrivel because they've got roots, yeah, so they shouldn't shrivel up like they do on some Coelogynes. The root disturbance, often the older roots on the older bulbs fail with the disturbance, and then they've got no support apart from through the rhizomes, which is not as good as coming straight in from the roots. So the back bulbs, older bulbs, tend to shrivel. But all of the bulbs left on here are leaved, they've all got their pair of leaves, and we've got a nice two strong new growths. that should do well, and the blooms on this were very good. I'll show you. I think I took a picture. I'm getting a bit sloppy. Some of the orchids that their blooms don't last long. It's often on new plants that I buy that are actually in bloom, like this one. And they go over and I haven't taken a picture. So I suddenly sort of think, I haven't got a pop-up for that one, why not? Well, it's because the blooms probably didn't last that long and I didn't get round to it. Anyway, that's that one done. And yeah, good news about the possibility of a group trip to Mathers. If we don't get a group trip, I will go anyway. You know, each year I will go to support the foundation because I enjoy the day out. Get some lunch somewhere, either before or after, depending whether it's a morning or an afternoon session. I enjoy the company there, and I enjoy the orchids and the whole event. It's worth the drive, and it's not a silly drive either. It's less than 2 hours. It's only actually it's about the same time as to Burnham's, possibly a little bit less, because a lot of it is fast roads. Once I get away from here, that silly little bit to get up to the dual carriageway at Ringwood, you know, I've got dual carriageway and motorway for a lot of the way, and then I've got a little A road to take me to the town, you know, where the nursery is. That's actually not a bad road, and the scenery is stunning. So yeah, an enjoyable drive, unless it's chucking it down, of course, which spoils any drive really. Yes, so there we go. Some stuff that will be going on, possibly during this week. I might leave it till next week, I don't know, but possibly coming soon. I'm going to get all of my bonsai in here and clean them up and give them a little trim as and where necessary, for those that need it, those that don't. And the juniper that I didn't do on Sunday because I didn't go to the workshop because it was raining, I will make an attempt to do that at the next workshop, which is in March. And if I don't do it then I'll just do it myself and do without the help. Quite honestly, I've lived like that with my bonsai since I started doing it. I haven't had much help with any of them. So it's just that one is a bit special, but we'll see how that goes. That's not definite. And hopefully Hannah's down this Saturday for the Bournemouth Orchid Society show, and on Sunday, weather permitting, I think I'm going to sacrifice doing work on the garden for actually doing work on the decking, because I've got some quite big jobs going on in the garden, especially that decking, and I don't want to do them. So I keep putting it off. I don't want to get out there on my own messing about with those large planks and, you know, the whole job. I just don't really want to do it. But if Hannah helps, it's like she's like the driver. She doesn't say anything or, you know, sort of poke me in the back with a big stick or anything, but I'm just willing to get on and do stuff if she helps me out. And I think between us, if we got out there, I reckon we can get that to bits on the Sunday coming, at which point I can see what timber's needed. I know where to go to get that timber and get it back here, and then it's just a matter of putting it all back together, which I might be able to get my son to come and help with that. I don't know, because he's got lots of power tools and stuff, so you know, it'd be handy for cutting lengths, and you know, sometimes you need to take a little chink out of something to get it to fit, so that would be handy. But I've lost interest in the garden because of that decking. It's putting me off. Everything's in the wrong place. Nothing's where it should be, and I can't do anything about it until the decking's sorted. So it's a hold up. So I think it's now becoming a priority, so we'll see what we can do. Weather permitting, we get out there on Sunday and start taking it to bits. It's one of those jobs, you don't know how easy or hard it's going to be until you start, until you try. Now I've got a power screwdriver, or my drill, my big heavy duty drill, will undo screws. Although a lot of what's underneath the decking is so rotten, I think a lot of those decking planks will just pull off. They'll just pull out because what they're screwed into is just rotted. which is why it's falling apart in the first place. Anyway, that's that done. So there's now no work to do on the Coelogynes. I've got a couple of Miltoniopsis need sorting out that haven't been done since I got them. The one that's been in flower for ages has now finished blooming, so that will need a repot. I don't trust things with dodgy roots. I do not trust in the media they're in when I buy them. I've learnt my lesson badly over the years. I've also got a Nellie Isla lurking somewhere that's finished blooming, and that needs coming out of the media and sorting out. At the moment I don't know where I've put it. It's around somewhere. Oh, I see it. So that needs doing, because that's probably in rubbish media that's you know, probably already taken the roots off, and it'll probably be 2 plants. They usually are, aren't they? At least this was just 1 plant. Anyway, I'll leave it at that for now, and I will see you in the next one, whatever it is. And the other thing I've just noticed, those of you who stick with the channel and also actually watch the other channel, the gardening and bonsai channel, might remember my Japanese flowering cherry, my Fuji cherry, Kojo no Mei, actually in bloom last year. That would have been out on the table last year when it came into bloom. It's coming into bloom now, and looking at the buds, I think it might even do better this year than it did last year, and last year was exceptionally good. It bloomed incredibly well, far better than it's ever done before, and I think this year is either going to be the same or possibly even better again. So we'll take a look at that when it's just a couple of flowers out at the moment. It's not the mass blooming yet, but hopefully it will be. Right, so that's it for today, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.